When did you start? You mentioned a couple of times therapy. When did you dive into finally like sitting down and saying, I'm going to talk to somebody?
So my parents tried to put me in therapy multiple times,
Mhm.
and I never really found a therapist that I liked. Like I was going to therapy before I can even remember going to therapy. But when I went to college, when I was 18, I found a therapist that I really, really liked. And I worked with him for a couple years.
That's great. And still?
Not right now.
Oh, not right now. Okay. Very cool. What are, if you could kind of write out like the 3 main steps that you've taken to make positive changes in yourself mentally and emotionally, what would you say were like the 3 top things?
Can you hear that? Sorry.
Yeah,
It's
I
my
can.
dog. She's in a cone of shame and she's itching herself. Top 3 things to make positive
Wait,
changes.
she's a cone over her head?
She's in a cone of shame because she has a little growth and she's been bothering it. So she's a cone head. Here she goes again. Cone of shame. Sorry.
So top 3 main steps that you've taken to make positive changes in yourself.
So the biggest lesson in my life has been choice.
Yes.
So every step that I've had in my life, I've chosen myself. So like moving out of my mom's house, dropping out of college, starting my business, like there's always choice. And I think it's really easy to forget that we have choices because life becomes so monotonous and we're just going through the motions. But can you stop that, please? But when we give ourselves like the space to have choice, even if it's something small, like what am I going to have for breakfast this morning? Like finding the joy in choice and empowering ourselves to make choice, I think is like the biggest lesson and the biggest positive change I've created in my life. They've all revolved around choice. So the 3 main steps: asking myself what I want and then choosing it.
Yes.
Fighting for me. That kind of goes hand in hand. For my mental health, for my physical health, for what I want. And getting support. That's a huge one. So whether it's a friend or family member or a therapist or a life coach, getting support has made a huge impact on myself because I was raised by 2 therapists, so I'm very intellectual and I forget to feel things a lot because I just think about them. And so having someone to help me like organize the thoughts and figure out exactly how I want to process things and what to do next, and just having the space to feel things and having space held for me, that's huge. That just gave me chills. Having space held for me, like creating space to be held for me, because I went so long without space for me.
I love that. Absolutely. When did you, obviously this is a process, and I want people to realize, you're in a different level, than other people might be. What was or I guess, how long did it take for you to finally realize that you were capable of setting boundaries? Not like when did you realize, but when did you actually start doing it, I should say? Like taking that step towards like, I'm making a choice and this is my choice.
Yeah. So when I was 17 and I moved out, that was like the biggest thing. But I had the phone number for the cab company, like the local cab company, in my phone since I was like 11, because I always knew that I was going to leave and I was going to say, F this, I'm out.
Wow.
But I just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Wow.
So having like, just knowing that you can do something,
yeah,
is huge for humans, right? We want to know that we have those choices, those options. But yeah, it took me 6 years to actually do it.
Wow. What would you say to individuals? Because I can relate. I can relate to this. But my excuse as a young person would have been that I can't or I have nowhere to go. So, what would you say to somebody who's kind of dealing with that? Like, who literally is like, you're telling them you have a choice. You can stay or you can leave, but I can't leave. Like, where would I go? I have no money. What do I do? What would be your advice for that?
That's a good question. I think when we stay, we think it's going to be easier, but I think that's actually the harder thing to do. Like when you're constantly choosing someone else and you're choosing to give up your freedom and your autonomy, you're neglecting like your purest form of yourself. And so when you listen to yourself and you ask yourself what you want, there's a leap of faith. You have to trust that the universe is going to show up for you and that your community is going to show up for you. But they will, because you're fighting for you. And at the end of the day, when you fight for you, it succeeds. You pull through.
Yeah. I love that you're saying leap of faith, because I think you're so right. I think that that's what that is. But until you take the leap, you have to test it.
Yeah.
You have to test it. What do you think are some options for people as far as, their parents are still married? Like sleep on a friend's couch?
Yeah, I was very lucky in that way. One of the things that like I utilized a lot was my high school sweetheart's mom's house. Like I was over there all the time because it was a safe atmosphere. So, there's people out there who want to help you. And especially like when you take a stand for yourself, it's intoxicating. People want to be around that.
Yes, that just gave me the chills.
Yeah.
100. Oh, that almost made me cry. I totally agree with that. And I think that people are scared sometimes to do that or to be that person.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're that kind of person?
I don't think I am anymore.
Wow. Why do you say that?
Like hold on. I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. The kind of person who doesn't take a stand for themselves. That's what you're asking, right?
No, the type of person who does.
That's what
gave me the chills.
Sorry, then yes, I am that person now. Yeah, for it takes practice. I still find myself not choosing me in certain scenarios, but yeah, absolutely.
Can you feel it though? Like when you're not, like now you're like aware of it. So can you actually feel it immediately?
Pretty soon after, yeah. Like especially it comes up in my business because there's so much noise in the entrepreneur world about what you should and shouldn't be doing and all this. So it comes up there where I'm like, wow, I'm so out of touch with what I'm doing right now. This isn't what feels right.
Yeah.
And so then I'm able to take a step back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.